All right, good afternoon, everyone. How are we feeling? Did you guys enjoy your lunch? Did you guys enjoy networking? Good. I want to learn a little bit more about you guys. So raise your hand if you are a current student. Okay, majority of you, very good. Now raise your hand if you are a recent grad. Nice. You guys want to shout some of the schools you guys represent? Nice. Okay. Wow, look at that. Very good. All right. And then now tell me, raise your hand if you participated in Jackie's session, the one that took place in the ballroom. Very good. I'd like to hear from one or two of you. What did you learn, or what was the key takeaway from that session? Just putting you all on the spot. Yeah, go ahead. I love that, and thank you for introducing yourself. Let's please give you a big round of applause. Amazing. And let's see, who else do we got? Who attended Noel's session? Good. Does anybody want to shout out what they learned from that session? Go ahead. Good. So experience side hustles. What else? What did we learn in the back? Go ahead. Amazing. Very good. All right. Well, I love learning a little bit more about you guys. We're going to keep on doing some more of that later in the peer-to-peer networking session. But now it is my honor to introduce you guys to our next set of panelists. So I hope you guys are excited to learn a little bit more. For your early career, a blueprint for success, moderator by Alexandra Merceron, who is an executive vice president for Rubenstein, a lecturer at Columbia University, and a longtime friend of the center. Please welcome Alex and the rest of the panelists to stage. I also would like to remind everyone that we also have an extra panelist. She's unfortunately running a little bit late today, so you might see us moving some chairs around when she comes in. Thank you all. And thank you, Alex. Yes, please, another round of applause.
Hello, can you all hear me? I'm going to pull this a little bit closer. I'm really loud, but not that loud. All right, thank you all for being here. Some familiar faces, some unfamiliar faces. You are in for a treat. We have some fantastic panelists here for us today. I'm just going to jump into introducing them because we have a lot to get to. So starting from my far right, we have Saidah Blount, the executive director of HERE, Celebrate Brooklyn, BRIC, throughout, round of applause. Throughout Saidah's 20-year career, she has established herself as a dynamic leader, content creator, and producer. She played pivotal roles in producing and developing new sonic and cultural platforms for global brands, including contributions to Sonos, NPR, and Cornerstone, The Fader. She was also the global marketing director for Sonos, where she elevated the company's presence in the music and audio content space. Developed award-winning content, also as the executive producer of their music service, Sonos Radio. Welcome, Saidah. All right, next to Saidah, we have Michelle Green. She is the manager of audience impact and intelligence at Paramount Global. Her role sits at the intersection of culture and marketing, developing insights to craft, shape, and inspire Paramount's advertising partners on how to best tap into the cultural zeitgeist. Thank you. She also does thought leadership for Paramount and sits on the board of NAMIC, the National Association for Multi-Ethnicity in Communications. It's a mouthful. Born and raised in Washington, D.C., Michelle attended Virginia Commonwealth University, where she received her BS in Mass Communication with a minor in African American Studies. Welcome, Michelle. And to my immediate right, we have Jackie Shaheed. She is the Early Careers Manager at Warner Brothers Discovery. Jackie is a strategic talent acquisition professional with extensive experience in guiding early career talent towards career success. She started her career at Prudential Financial, Aon, and Guardian, where she developed her expertise in talent strategy before transitioning to the entertainment industry. Jackie's passion lies in connecting students and recent graduates with career development opportunities, and that's at the core of her work with the Early Careers program at Warner Brothers. She's a proud graduate of St. Peter's College, where she completed her bachelor's degree in marketing. Welcome, Jackie. Yes. All right. Welcome to all of our panelists. If and when Alia arrives, I will read her bio when she gets here, and we will give her her due. But without further ado, I'll jump into our conversation. So I just read your bio, but we like to have people talk about their career journey in their own words. So give us your brief 3 or 4 chapter career trajectory. As many chapters as you'd like, Saidah. We'll start with you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming out in the cold, and I hope you had a good day so far. I would say that my career trajectory has been extraordinarily diverse. Scattered is probably the real word for it. You know, I've always been probably the other or the one in the room, like the only woman, the only woman of color, the only Black person. Like it's a lot of that. But I think that, you know, the connective tissue for me has always been music and culture. I came from a background where I was, you know, pretty learned up in you know, sociology, political science, different things like that. And I've always wanted to just know about those core elements. So, you know, music and marketing and culture really kind of like fed that, that urge for me. You know, I started out as a journalist. I think, you know, it fed right into wanting to do some research. And then I kind of made my way into marketing and branding, understanding, you know, those core elements of what makes things tick is really interesting to me. And I think that that helps me work to elevate brands, figure out their needs, where they're tracking, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, music is always the core. I think where things started to like really fall into place for me is when I led music, live events, and digital platforms at NPR Music for 5 years. And I think that that's where things started to really gel for me, where I saw, you know, really talented journalists, great thinkers, you know, scholars, different guests coming in, talking about the things that they love. And then that kind of clicked for me that, you know, I feel very and extraordinarily lucky that I've gotten to do the things that I loved. Maybe, you know, it didn't make sense to me, my parents, family members, you know, other friends about what I was doing, but I knew that, you know, music was important to me and studying about culture and how it affects people. So I think I've been extraordinarily lucky through the course of my career with that.
Wonderful. How about you, Michelle?
Okay, it's already on. Hi, lovely to see everyone. Like Saidah said, I'm just happy that you all came out in the cold because your girl was freezing. But yes, I feel like my journey has always been within entertainment. Just like some of you all, like I started my journey off as an intern. I started interning at BET Networks in DC, going into my senior year of college, and thankfully my manager at the time called me back literally a month before graduation, was like, Michelle, do you have a job yet? And I said, no. They said, do you want to come back and work for me? I said, okay. So that's literally how my career started. But he was just like, you know, you did such a great job as an intern that I would rather hire you back than to hire someone new and have to train them all over again. So just also know that those internships are very important. And so I literally started a week after graduation. I started working at BET. I was in a part of ad sales and traffic. And then I transitioned to my current team. I know we'll talk about later about like pivots and stuff like that, but I transitioned to my current team, which is the Audience Impact and Intelligence team. And it's just a fancy way of saying I study like culture. But it's more so what I do on my current team is just understanding, you know, talking to brands and letting them know like how can you authentically communicate to a lot of different consumers, whether you're Black, Latinx, LGBTQ+, really just kind of like educating them, advertisers, brands on like how to authentically communicate to these consumers, but also understanding what's trending. I know like a lot of people are on social media and stuff like that, but like what do these trends mean? Like how can this affect the brand? So I love that I can just bring my everyday self to work. And yeah.
Thank you. How about you, Jackie?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. So my career path has not been linear. I was how many first-generation students do we have here? All right, so you understand that navigating the career trajectory when not having parents that were born and raised here is a challenge into itself. But graduating with a marketing degree and being the, second child to graduate was a big exciting thing. However, I graduated during the recession, and I think many of you can appreciate the challenges that we are all facing. So much like you, I treaded in super uncharted territory, and there was not much of opportunity, and an opportunity was presented to me. It was a leadership development opportunity. However, and you'll appreciate this too, it was not in the industry I was looking for, but it was working for Lady Foot Locker, which is RIP, no more. It's been Foot Locker since 2015. So I took the opportunity, and I feel that every opportunity that you can take, you can learn from. So quickly after taking the opportunity at Lady Foot Locker, I realized retail hours were not for me. However, I gained exceptional customer service skills, operation, management. I hired people. Fast forward, who knew I would be in talent acquisition, but it was there for a reason. Within that opportunity, I hired someone that actually gave me my next opportunity. So I hired someone to be on my staff, but she gave me an opportunity. All I wanted after gaining those skills was to be in corporate America. That was like, I'm like, if I'm in corporate America, I've made it. So I transitioned into a benefits administrator role at GE. What I didn't know was that role was part of human resources, right? It was a center of excellence. Human resources has several different areas. And within that role in benefits, fast forward, bringing me into now financial services at Prudential. I cannot say enough about working for an organization, a large organization that has a lot of internal mobility. Because if I were to look for a talent acquisition role when I was outside of that, another organization may have not looked at my skills, but internally, the world was almost like my oyster, right? My performance was solid. Any manager can contact my current manager, get some feedback. Hey, how is Jackie? What's been her experience? What is she like? In benefits, I had a lot of, I don't like writing. I'm a really good writer. I really don't like it. So I had to I want to say my career trajectory has not been linear. So I've pivoted, which I know we're going to talk more about. However, that led me, I knew what I liked doing. And my next step was very intentional when I went into talent acquisition. And when I tell you, I found my golden egg, my golden ticket, that was it. I knew that talent acquisition was my area of expertise, what I love doing, and that brought me into working for a different financial services organization. I spent the majority of my career at Prudential Financial, having several different opportunities that were presented to me. But I will say, my favorite industry ever, and I'm not just saying that because I work for Warner Brothers Discovery, has been the entertainment industry. And that's because it really, it resonates with who I am as a person, my culture, and I think in entertainment companies, at least Warner Brothers Discovery, the opportunity for inclusion, diversity, and the excitement of the entertainment industry really just resonates with me. So I'm excited that I've been able to create strategies. As you mentioned, my role is creating strategies to pipeline intern talent into the organization. So I'm really excited to be here and share more with you about creating your own blueprint.
I'm going to come to the pivot question sooner than later because that is something that you all have in common, right? Significant pivot. So in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you to talk about one pivot you've had to make and maybe share sort of the broader lesson about resilience and being adaptable. But I want to hear about, they want to hear about what you do now. We'll start with you, Michelle. Tell us more about your day-to-day job, what a typical week is like, and what's sort of under your remit in your current role.
Yeah, so my day-to-day changes every day. So like I said, what I do is mainly study culture. So I technically work under Paramount Advertising. So within Paramount Advertising, we basically are like their secret sauce. So we get to do the fun things. We don't actually have to sell stuff. So we get to do the fun things. So my day-to-day can easily be, let's say, looking at trends. I can literally use what I'm scrolling up on social media. If I'm on the Shade Room, I can even use that to kind of like figure out like what is going on in culture, like what can that mean for the brand. Sometimes brands will come to us with RFPs, which is like requests for proposals. And let's say we have a client that wants to understand millennial moms who like to drink Coca-Cola or something like that. And so what I would do is I would do some research and kind of provide them with insights of how to really authentically understand this consumer and kind of how they can target them, but also like what is the different nuances that they need to know to work with them. And so it'll be a mix of trend forecasting, it'll be a mix of consumer insights, and one of my passion points that we do is create these thought leadership projects. So basically what that is kind of just, the most recent one we did is called Industry in Progress, and it's all about the representation of advertising or lack thereof. So what we would do is we'll go out and we'll interview consumers. We'll do like surveys with the consumers to like kind of really understand like how do they feel about advertising today? What are their authentic reasons or feelings about what they're seeing? Do they feel represented? What do they want to see more of? And so once I carve through that data, I'll put together it in a presentation and I'll take it out to conferences and brands to really educate them of like, this is what the consumers want. We talk to them, you need to listen to them, and this is how this can help your bottom line. So it can change from day to day, but I think that's what I love about it. Like, I don't like being stagnant. Even though we're working in the entertainment industry, I do get to travel to these conferences. I do get to meet great people like the people on the panel and do things like this. So I love being able to like mix it up on a day to day.
I'm smiling because usually students don't enjoy research. I'm looking at two of them right now. But if you have an interest in pop culture, if you have an interest in research, it's essential in the media business. As you said, it's the secret sauce in many ways for content creation, for advertising. How about you, Saidah? Tell us about your role here.
Yeah, here at BRIC, I work on the BRIC Celebrate Brooklyn, which is New York City's oldest outdoor festival. We're about 46 years in. I just joined on in January, so my first year is coming up. And I think my job is as a steward of BRIC's mission and how it relates to our activation out in Prospect Park. Understandably, you know, there's the glam, sexy part of it where it's like we get to produce, you know, anywhere from 15 to 25, you know, shows a year, both free and unpaid, or excuse me, free and paid, ticketed. But there's also a mission of education and serving the community that we are embedded in, i.e. Brooklyn. BRIC has a really strong mission of, you know, providing free, if not low cost, education options, as well as, you know, workforce development, you know, media training, all sorts of things for the community. And I think that we kind of represent, it's a marketing and branding play a little bit. It's like, you know, if you know the history of BRIC Celebrate Brooklyn, 1979, Prospect Park was not considered, you know, the place to be. It was really run down. It was kind of rough around the edges. You know, what you're seeing now in Prospect Park is not, and Park Slope is not it. It started with a jazz concert, and it reminded people, oh, hey, we've got this beautiful band shell, the Lena Horne band shell. People could come out here, experience, you know, these moments in the summer in Brooklyn. And I think that, you know, we're using kind of like the peek behind the curtain situation out at Celebrate Brooklyn. Sure, we can bring Erykah Badu and, you know, Kalela and Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson, all these folks out here. But while we're doing it, we're taking that opportunity from the stage to remind you there's a larger Brooklyn community out here that we need to support, and that everybody, you know, one of the bigger missions for us is saying we're raised by Brooklyn. that, Brooklyn means something to the larger world. It's, there's a swagger that's there. There's a momentum. Our music resonates across the world. Hip hop, classical music, the arts. So we're kind of giving people that moment to realize that, even though we're bringing you this entertainment, here at BRIC House, where you're sitting right now, we also have options for everybody else to be involved. It's like, you want to come here and learn about how to produce a podcast. Ironically, I just took my first class and about like editing podcasts on Wednesday. Like, we can do that. And I mean, I think the class was $10, and you get to learn how to do this and use the most updated software that's out there. So I'm really lucky that, I get to work with both internal and external stakeholders, Prospect Park Alliance, I'm on the board there, or the advisory board there that I work with them. Here I work with our development team, our marketing team, just to kind of shape what we think a season out there at the park looks like, but then also bringing the mission back home here. But I can't lie. It's really fun also to work with my lead producers and curators to pick really awesome concerts for the summer. So it's a nice mix of things.
Lots of great programs. I highly recommend it if you're around this summer.
I know. Come out and see
Come
us.
on out. How about you, Jackie? Tell us about the Early Careers Program and your broader role at Warner.
So I've been with Warner Brothers Discovery for 3 years. I have the pleasure of being the early career manager. So I'm part of the larger early talent team, which is the amazing team that brings in our interns into the company. We have 3 internship cycles. My team creates strategies to pipeline the interns into entry-level roles and early career programs. That's part 1. Part 2 is once you're an intern at WBD, you're always part of the family. So we created strategies on alumni strategies. Do we have any? I know I saw one, yeah, right? So we were just talking earlier. We have different ways of connecting. We have a large community of alumni that we want them to come back, whether they are converted right from a senior or whether they've left the company and it's been 5 years. We want you to come back to Warner Brothers Discovery. So my team creates strategies such as different events, exclusive opportunities to apply where you get, similar, like if you're an internal, you get exclusive window of opportunity to apply for roles at Warner Brothers Discovery. Newsletters, opportunities to network. So that's a second area of my role. And then the third area is I serve as the relationship manager to our diversity organizations like Center for Communications. And again, being a first-gen student, I'm really passionate about helping students feel that they belong, that they have a voice, and pipelining the talent into our intern program, because that intern program brings in a tremendous amount. Like our team, first of all, I gotta give them a shout out because they go through hundreds and thousands of applications for our spring, summer, and fall intern program. And then what my team does is we've built it's called GROW. We love acronyms, Get Ready for Opportunities at WBD. So we do programs and learning opportunities for all the interns, but we specifically look at seniors, right? They're the ones that are going to be graduating and leaving academia and taking that first step after their intern program. So we look at ways on how do we develop them? What are the tools and resources and areas of success that they need to be successful, whether it's continuing their career with us at Warner Brothers Discovery or somewhere else, and then we want you to come back. So those would be the 3 areas of my role that I have the pleasure, and our team is spread out through Atlanta, New York, and LA. I'm in New York, and that's my role on a day-to-day, and I absolutely love it. So we didn't have an early career kind of focus. We were focused on our internship and pipelining, but we really want, so interns come in and they're like, okay, what's next for me? How do I stay here, right? Those are the strategies that I've been creating since I started 3 years ago.
Hundreds of thousands of resumes.
I'm telling you, my director's in the audience somewhere. Oh, There she is.
She's vouching for the hundreds of
Yeah,
thousands.
it's insane. It's absolutely amazing. But the diverse voices and talent that we bring into organization are our leaders for tomorrow and our best storytellers. So it's really exciting.
But this is a good segue to the advice portion of our conversation. So I asked you all to think about a time you had to pivot in your career, or a successful pivot you've made, because in many ways, even though it's early career, some are still students, it's a tough job market, right? People are having to think more broadly about how they can use their skills. So can you share a time where you had to pivot in your career and maybe extract some advice for our audience? We'll start with you, Saidah. We'll come to Jackie and then Michelle.
I'll do kind of like two little mini ones that equal into one. I think the biggest pivot for me was right at the beginning of coming out of college, grad school, whatnot. I moved to New York City for grad school. My entire life, I assumed I was going to be working in, as an academic or in politics. I ended up winning when I went on an academic course that was very high level. Like, I had very hardcore parents that were like, do it. So, and not mad at that. I really enjoyed it. But I won I won a political science fellowship, like one of the largest here in America. And basically, you win that, your career courses is set. You can pretty much, in politics, have any job that you want. So, at that time, I thought, okay, I know what I'm going to do, whatnot. Moved here to New York to start, like, high-level graduate, like a fast-track course, and burned out within the first year. I was just like, I literally hit a point where I was like, I'm done. I've given 13 really amazing years of high-level academics, and my brain just shut down. But I was here in New York City, and unfortunately, I grew. The other really interesting thing is that my parents were always very cool. They were like, you can't mess around with the silly stuff. But music and culture, my parents were always really cool with. They were just like, my dad would take me literally and bring like a little box and let me flip through records with him at record stores or whatever. Like, my parents were record collectors. I listened to music voraciously. Anytime I'd be like, I'd like this record, I'd like this cassette. They were like, go ahead and get it. Music was a thing that I've always gone back to. Moving to New York City back in the late 90s, you could go to a club or a music venue at any time of night. Music started resonating with me on that higher level again. And when I hit that moment where I was like, I can't do one more minute of this, like, I'm done, music is what I turned to. And it was the hardest decision that I made, because it paid for, what brought me here to New York paid for my grad school for both years. It paid for my housing. It paid for everything. I would have to give up everything and do it myself. And I made that decision. And, for 10 years afterwards, my mom was like, what are you doing? She's like, you can go back to school at any time, whatever. It was really hard. Like, coming here and, like, my parents were like, we're not helping you. You made the decision. You got to do it. So that was the roughest thing I think that I've had to do. But I went with my heart, because I knew something about music and wanting to be involved with it. And being in a city like New York, the heartbeat for me was there. And I just followed my gut. And it's sometimes painful. It's tough. It's hard. There were times I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make it. I took really crappy jobs, whatever was offered to me and whatever. And I had a break. And I think then the other great pivot I had was realizing when an organization isn't supporting your talent enough. One of my jobs, I had created almost everything in their structure for them. Their video platforms, and, like, figuring out how to work with artists and doing all these things. And then I just kind of noticed that, the really plum assignments and the plum jobs and the plum, like, connections were going to other people, and mainly men. Men in power. And I kind of, they told me, they're like, well, I think that this person probably is a better fit, but you'd be really great to help us support. We love your ideas. And I had to choose me. And I chose that I was like, I'm not going to let somebody take, my work, my collateral value, the things that I work on, and turned around and put me in a secondary position. So I made that choice to leave and find another organization that really wanted me to go there, like really liked what I was doing. It was like, we're just gonna give you the platform, go with it. That was one of the hardest things ever to do, to choose yourself and choose and understand that it's you and you know that you have that capability. So that pivot was pretty brutal, but it was great. Great.
It's a great lesson, right? Not wasting time in a position or an organization that isn't supporting you, right? Having the courage to move on. How about you, Michelle?
Oh, me?
Yes, sorry.
I would say for my pivot, I started off at a position where I kind of just took it because I was like, I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Like, you gotta do what you gotta do, and you have to get in the room. But I realized that it wasn't something that I loved. And it's honestly the reason why I wear glasses now. I was literally at the computer 24/7, like 24/7. But I had to realize, okay, this is not necessarily what I want to do, but it got me in the room. But also, like, how can I utilize being in the room and figure out a lot of different things? So I would like shadow people. I was like, am I going to do events? Am I going to do HR? Am I going to be in talent acquisition? Like, I was just like so like bright-eyed and like bushy-tailed because I was in the entertainment industry, but it was so many different roles that I never even like knew about. Even my current role, I never even knew existed. I was like, I don't want to work in data. Like, I don't want to be beep boop beep boop. But it could be fun. Like, look at me, I could be fun. But what I would say is that like I was able to pivot into a space in my current position now where it's just like, okay, like I can talk about my everyday. I can literally talk about billboards that I'm seeing at the bus stop, or I can literally talk about things that I'm seeing on like TikTok, and I'm literally people, like I'm talking to my friends about things, and I can come up with these trends, and I can see like how can this be utilized for a brand. So for me, I think being able to be open, I think also too, me coming from a space where everybody looked like me, when I moved to the other position, I was like, I don't know, like I don't know what it's gonna be, but I had to be open to understanding that, you know, there is life and new opportunities, and even if it's something like taking a step back. I honestly took a step back. When I pivoted initially, I was an executive assistant. But I honestly feel like sometimes if you don't know what you want to do, an executive assistant is the right way to go because you are in those rooms with those executives. You are in those rooms with the coordinators and managers. You're in these rooms with all these people, different people on these different levels. So I was able to absorb so much information and figure out, I like this, I don't like this. And I was also able to make those connections with people to like, for them to understand like, hey, like I raised my hand, like actually I want to learn more about this, can you teach me? And they were willing to teach me. So understanding that like sometimes you have to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. And so even me being in an executive assistant position and being in those rooms, I was able to, you know, learn new skills, add new skills to my toolkit, and that was able to allow me to pivot and also get promoted like once, twice, multiple times in a role that I didn't even know that I was going to be in. So don't be afraid to make those moves.
I believe our 4th panelist has arrived. So as Alia, we'll welcome Alia in a moment as she sets up. Hopefully everyone took those notes from Saidah. Sometimes you just have a change of course, right? You burnt out, you're early in your career, you have plenty of time to start over. You have plenty of time to learn something new and chart a different course. Being open, you might think something is not for you, but you gave it a shot, and now look at how much she loves it. And also not being afraid to take a step back or step sideways to maybe reset, right? All of these are fine. You all are at the beginnings of your career. Plenty of time to do this. Jackie, how about you?
So, as I mentioned, my career has not been linear. And if I can give you my 3 Gs that have been my guiding principles.
Or acronyms. We love
Yes. Well, this one's not really an acronym, but 3 Gs. So, number 1, grit, right? It's the resiliency. Right when a pivotal time in my life, my dad passed away. And I had an opportunity to skip a grade and fast track in school. My mom, being new to the country, was gonna take us back home. And here I was in this pivotal time in my life, right? So she had to keep us here for a few more years so that we can get to a point, because I didn't speak Arabic then well enough. So I was like, she's like, I can't take these kids with me. They're not gonna make it out there. So I'm gonna have them, you know, do what they need to here to get to a point where I can send them to an American school in Egypt, right? By that point, she found her way and was able to take on my dad's businesses that he left. So my mom is my idol. So when I say resiliency, right, I took that opportunity to do everything I could to support my family and what I had to do. From the minute I was unable to find an opportunity from college and all the pivots that I took, I grinded. That's my second G. Grind and learn. When my first opportunity, retail wasn't for me. However, the skills that I gained from there, I was able to take that and utilize that and continue to network with the people right there. Right, you find okay, I know that I like this and I know I don't like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect with the people that have that. Like I was interested in hiring, so I talked to different people in talent acquisition, even though I wasn't there, and kind of like, what do you do? Tell me a little bit more. What are some areas of success, right? So, get a little bit more granular in your grind. A lot of G's here today. And then continue to evolve, which is my third G, is growth. Growth is going to happen at every stage of your career, whether you're just starting or you are at my age or older, right? The growth opportunities that I've had that have taught me how to network, how to ask the right questions, how to get granular so that I can take the next step. Building an early career strategy at Warner Brothers Discovery has been extremely challenging, but such an amazing opportunity for us to take advantage of the amazing work that our early talent team has been doing with bringing in voices into the organization. So I've created early career program. There's a new associate program, which some of you may be familiar if you're in journalism. It's a program where you come in and you're given the tools to be successful, right? You're given a mentor. We built a early talent learning portal where we've coincided it with what are the key competencies that you need to have beginning in your career so that you can be successful. So at Warner Brothers Discovery, we have guiding principles. We have, I think, 4 or 5 guiding principles. We've worked with our learning and leadership development group to find out, okay, based on these guiding principles, here's the soft skill competencies that early talent need. Communication is number 1. You're able to take an assessment to kind of find out, all right, here's my communication style, but this is Michelle's communication style, and we might be on a project and Saidah has a different communication style. How are we gonna work together to collaborate to execute on what we need, right? Another one is your career journey. So a career journey, right? What are the tools and resources, the blueprint to your career, right? I commend all of you for being here today and networking and learning and kind of finding out, all right, I've been doing this, but I just talked to Michelle and she said I could potentially pivot in this route. Like, that's what today is all about, hearing from different industry leaders, speaking to different employers, hearing what we have to say. What I say is, there's a lot of information you learned today. Don't get overwhelmed. Take your top 3 things and implement that back into your blueprint so you can be successful in your pivot.
Yes, hear, hear, snap, snap, snap. We're gonna come back for more advice, but we are joined by Alia, so I will quickly read Alia Jones-Harvey's bio. She is the Associate Commissioner of Workforce Development and Educational Initiatives for the NYC Mayor's Office on Media and Entertainment. She joined that office in 2015 as the Director of Education and Workforce Development, and she's been successfully building partnerships with employers, unions, nonprofit organizations, schools, and the city ever since. She's launched several training programs that have served over 20,000 New Yorkers. You all could be next. She's also across film, TV, music, theater, publishing. You have a broad portfolio. She's also responsible for the digital gaming industry, which is growing here in New York City, spearheading the city's efforts to develop an equity-centered talent pipeline and grow the digital gaming industry here in New York City. Maybe not on people's radar, but it is a growing industry here in the city, and she's playing a pivotal role in that. So welcome, Alia. Round of applause. I know you just settled in. I think you should be on. Yes. Yes, okay. We can hear you. We're gonna shift to maybe more concrete advice, so everyone get your notepads out. If you all are looking at early career talent, what really stands out? What should this group of aspiring young professionals really be putting forward in this moment? What are you looking for?
Well, hello. Thank you all for having me here today. Apologies for arriving late, stuck on a train that was literally stalled.
They all know this. They know the drill.
You know the train. So it's interesting. In the media and entertainment space, I feel like the ground is shifting right now, and you may feel that way too. As companies are making decisions about how to invest capital in new content. And the idea around what new content is shifting. And so that's why you hear me talking more about digital games, about digital content, and along those lines, even in film and television, we're seeing a shift to having more skills in managing digital content, having more skill in operating in a virtual production space. You know, I'm looking at this screen, being able to envision scenery that's set up on LED screens as opposed to on location. So that shift that's happening now is happening in music, of course. It's happening in advertising, and we're starting to see this more and more in film and television as well. And so if I were in your shoes, I would be looking at how I can bring in my toolbox, which has kind of been my approach. And I was listening to the conversation about pivoting. I've pivoted now 4 times. My first job out of college was at Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati, in IT. Oh, wow. You know, which I quickly decided this is not what I want to be doing, and I made a pivot to business school in New York and into financial services. And I gained a lot in each of those positions. In order for me to take to the next role in financial, you know, at Procter & Gamble, I learned a lot about project management and financial services. I learned a lot about engaging high net worth clients, and that allowed me to pivot from financial services into producing Broadway shows. And I still do that, you know, for fun, but I pivoted about 10 years ago to taking the skills that I learned from building those companies, those Broadway companies from the ground up, to trying to find a door, the opening for people that are trying to find jobs in the industry. And that allowed me to pivot into working for the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. And in each of these jobs, what's been most important for me is figuring out what's going to fulfill me in the job, what's going to keep me coming back to this job every day, and really figuring out how I can be successful in the job with the skills that I have. So So in order, having high net worth, oh, sorry, having high net worth, clients in my back pocket made it easier for me to pivot into raising money for Broadway shows, but then understanding how these companies are built from the ground up and what the skill sets are of all of the different creatives that create a production allowed me to pivot into workforce development in this area. And so now what our office has been providing to early career New Yorkers is an opportunity to train into positions, whether it be on sets, whether it be in post-production, or in animation, or even working with companies like the companies that you represent on the soft skills training to move into those coveted early career roles. And so that's kind of where we've been. Our office loves to engage with students that are trying to find an entry point. And so I always offer, that we're here to help you try to find an entry point. But that's what I've seen in my vantage point of where the industry is going. The people with more technical skills have a better chance right now. The generalist is competing with a lot of people for the same roles. Honestly, we just got a slew of resumes for open opportunities in our office, and when we're looking for a specialist, there are very few people that are competing in that space. And so, people that understand even a little bit about the tools that are used in certain jobs. For instance, if you know the Adobe Creative Suite, you have given yourself a leg up in a lot of opportunities in the media and entertainment space. If you can add those skills to your toolbox, I think that it'll give you a better shot at getting in the door. And I think what you're hearing from the panel is that once you get in the door, there's a lot of opportunity if you start looking around for it. And all of my pivots have been out of industry. They've been wildly different from what I was doing before. So I would never think that where you are today means that that's where you'll be.
Can I actually just add something, because you made a great point? The Adobe, right? So if I always say for students, early career, what role are you trying to attain? Look at the qualifications. If Adobe is on there, but you don't have Adobe, that's your opportunity to upskill and potentially take a LinkedIn Learning class, a Coursera, like a certification, whatever is needed. It's never too late to upskill. You will continuously upskill throughout your career. So I love that because, if I'm even looking to transfer, like some students, I'm like, the news world, the 24/7 is not for me. I want to go into production. Well, into production, you need a different skill set, but you have transferable skills. Look at that job, look at what they're looking for, and if you're going to have several resumes, please don't tell me you have one, and you're going to upskill to gain those skills, and this way you're more marketable, you're able to, if not, you're going to stay doing what you're not interested in. I think you've heard a theme from here. We love what we do, and we love, and that's what you want to continue. You might not love it initially, but you're going to continuously grow and upskill and develop and learn and grow so that you can get into a role that you thrive in.
Oh, we're going to have you keep going, because this is the perfect sort of parallel here, right? Parallel advice. Have your specializations, develop these digital skills that people are looking for, and then version your resume, right? Know what the specific jobs you are going for are and what the requirements, and really show that you understand, right? In some cases, people are impressed that you know what the tools of the trade are. You might have basic or intermediate proficiency, but the fact that you know, I better know Adobe Suite for this job, puts you ahead of the person who has no idea and doesn't address it. Go ahead, Saidah.
No, that's why I giggled a little bit. Yeah, hearing everyone should have more than one resume. Like, please, 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 if you see a job description, a JD that's out there, look at exactly what they are asking for you to do and compare. Yes, there are some things that are, you can kind of negotiate around, or like, I'll learn on the job and whatnot, but take the time to really see what they're asking for and use those opportunities as, like, as Jackie mentioned, a opportunity to build up some skills for yourself. Like, it is, not to give the plug, but use resources like BRIC,
Yes.
like the public library, different places to take free or low-cost classes. Or if you think that this is going to be a job that you really want to have, pay for a good class, like one that's like 3-4 months, where you get into the really nitty-gritty. It is so important. Like, please pay attention to what they're asking, and if you do that, that is the differentiation between, I don't think she was lying, that jobs now, and unfortunately, you get hundreds, if not thousands, of resumes per job. And this is like, if a job goes up, I have friends now that are looking for jobs that are like, okay, I saw it, it's 3 days later, I can assume 8,000 resumes are there. It's not a joke. Like, do what you can to differentiate yourself on that piece of paper or on the screen when we're looking. As many tools as you can put into your toolkit, as you said, will put you above the rest.
Any additional advice, Michelle, either to stand out, maybe in the interview process or on the resume?
Yeah, I just was kind of just thinking, as far as like advice in general that I would have for you all, is just to that point of like being innovative. What I'm looking for is, how can someone fill that white space? Like, of course, like, you want to understand like what's going on at the job, but also how can you go above and beyond that? I think about Spotify, right? The Spotify rap was designed by an intern. Literally an intern. And so like, she found that space of like, okay, I understand the business, but this is how I can take it up to a next level. Even like in my current position, it was like, the whole time of 2020, the Black racial reckoning, the George Floyd of it all, like, I was like, okay, we need to talk about this. Like, we need to like understand, not even from like a marketing perspective, like, we need to understand Black people. So I went to like the powers that be, and I was like, okay, can we create this Black in America study? So I was able to like spearhead a study called Black in America. So it was all about like, what are the lived experiences of being Black in America? And that led to Latinx in America, Asian America, LGBTQ plus in America. So you don't know what, just your thoughts can bring to the table, and I don't want you to underestimate what you already have. I think also too, I know a lot of places think like 2-3 years of experience, 5 years of experience. Don't underestimate that, even if, sorry, I didn't mean to yell. Don't underestimate that, even like if you are like scrolling on the social medias of it all, like, you have experience. It's just learning how to like say the right words and learning how to actually, advocate for yourself. I know even for me, I'm like, okay, Michelle, you scrolling on social media a lot. How can you monetize off of this? So I was able to go to my company, and they were able to, pay for me to take a social media marketing course at Cornell. So I have my certification in that now. So I'm like, okay, girl, if you're gonna scroll on Instagram, it needs to be useful for you, something like that. So just also make sure that you utilize your resources, but never underestimate the power that's already within you. Like, understand that you're there for a reason, and you have a voice. So that would be my advice.
That is great advice, right? Something you spend, yes, applause. Something you spend time doing, something you have a talent for, may be of value to an organization if you speak up and really figure out how to sell that to the organization. We're coming close to the Q&A, so if you have questions, be prepared. We will ask folks to quickly say your name, what organization or school you represent, and then jump into your questions, because I suspect you're going to get a lot of questions. But I want to ask each of you our final lightning round question. If you could give advice to your younger self, what would it be? Or what is the best piece of career advice you ever received? Who would like to go first? Alia, you'll take it away.
Well, I'm really lucky Facebook came around because it's allowed me to reconnect with people that were, 3 pivots ago, because of course, those people are important for any of my future ideas about pivoting. And so I would say, if I could have said to my past self, stay in contact with your peer group as much as you're trying to meet, hiring professionals and people that you may have informationals with. You'll be surprised when you turn back in 20 years and all of your peers are at the companies that you might think about going to next, and they're the people that you're going to want to call for advice. So I would say your peer group, stay in contact.
And network sideways. If you have not met new people, no one should leave this building without connecting with 5 other people in the audience. You have the rest of the afternoon to do that. Saidah?
Yeah, I would +1 that, like, always stay connected to the folks. I think that I don't want to wrongly attribute it, but you never know who you're going to, if you're going up, you never know who you're going to meet on the way down. Like, always, you'd be surprised. I think somebody mentioned that they got a job from somebody that they had hired back at, same. I have like some young people that were my assistants that I'm like, that are running corporations now. Always stay in the loop with the folks that you're around. I would say that my biggest piece of it, or what I would tell myself is, be brave. I wasn't brave on some things. Like, take that informational meeting with somebody, or just ask. Like, I was really surprised that, I didn't reach out to people. I thought I had to do it all on myself to prove that I could do it. And that's a really tough place to be. I think things have really changed now to this new generation. Be brave and, do it respectfully, of course, and, do it in a way that is professional and feels true to yourself and to your spirit. But be brave and, reach out to people, find new ways, network. If there is something that you think, I think I keep forgetting about that Spotify was an intern. Like, she just kind of created that. And you just never know that idea you have might be that billion dollar maker. But, and also the other little thing I'll say, I'm really proud of this generation of you guys, that you care about your health and wellness. Respect yourself and your health and wellness and your mental capacities and your bandwidth, top of mind. Take care of yourself, because you only have you once. You only have your mental stability. Like, you don't want somebody, running you ragged. My mom and my grandma used to tell me that if you get sick at your job, they're going to step right on over you and have somebody else in your job within 2 months. It's true. Take care of yourself. It's like, you can find a great organization to work for, but always understand that, and one of my colleagues upstairs says, something that you're working on at 8 p.m. is not going to change between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. Take care of yourselves and respect yourselves.
Great advice. How about you, Michelle?
For me, I would say 3 quick things. I would tell myself to find that through line. I know we had these conversations about, being a journalist versus a specialist, and honestly, I'm one of those people that was like, what am I going to do with my life? When I was younger, I wanted to be like an architect, I wanted to be an actress, and now I'm here. But the through line for me was, as an architect, you build things, right? So what I'm doing now, I'm building strategy. So I'm still able to find that through line of like what it is that I love doing. Like, I was in school for mass comm, specifically broadcast journalism. I graduated, I was like, I don't want to do news. But I realized that I love the storytelling aspect. I'm telling people stories now. So I would definitely say to find that through line of like who you are at your core, and that will definitely help you and guide you throughout life. Also, too, I would say, your network is your net worth. I read a book recently by Lauren Wesley Wilson. She's the founder of Colorcom, called What Do You Need? And in there, she said, it's the hard skills that get you hired, but it's the soft skills that get you promoted. And that is so true. Like, you have to be able to network, and also I understand, you know, when we on TikTok and they're saying, go home right after work, I'm closing my laptop at 5. Don't be listening to them. Y'all better go to those company happy hours. You don't have to stay that long, but as long as people need to see your face, they need to understand who you are as a person. And I'm not saying you have to go out of your comfort zone all the time, but put yourself out there. That's how you're able to get these opportunities. Like literally every position I had has come through a connection. I'm not saying I didn't have to apply, but I really didn't have to apply because I made these connections and they saw who I was and they saw my work ethic in different spaces. And then my last one would be do not settle. Do not settle in your friendships. Do not settle with your professors. Do not settle at your job. And I just like to say, you know, that's when it comes to that pivot and understanding when you have to make those choices. You know, if your life is starting to look better than how you feel, it's time to go. If your life is looking better than how you feel, you have to prioritize your health and your wellness, and you have to understand and listen to your gut. Your gut will never steer you wrong, and if your gut does steer you wrong, at least you can pivot to something else. So just, just trust yourself. Trust yourself. Like I said, you're in these rooms for a reason. You know, you are who you are, and just believe that you can do it. So, yeah.
+1, +2, +3. They said it all. But what I would tell 22-year-old Jackie is do not doubt yourself. Confidence is everything, and you're going to be okay. But it is not going to fall in your lap. So you have to go after what you want. And no matter how many times you may fall, you will get back up and you'll get back up stronger, because those that fall and fail do learn a lot more than those that have an easier, successful path. So just trust yourself, because you're going to be great.
Thank you. Alia, Saidah, Michelle, Jackie, huge round of applause as you all make your way down for Q&A. I believe we have mics on either side. Again, just quickly tell us your name, what school or organization you're with, and ask your question. If you can, it looks like we're going to have a lot of questions. Maybe direct your question to one panelist. If we have time, or if someone has a great answer, we'll have more than one person answer. Start here. Hello.
Oh, okay. My name is Amira Figueroa. I am a recent graduate of the College of Staten Island. I'm an intern at the Queer Joy Collective, and I also work as a mentor for Sam and Devora.
Can you move a little bit closer to the mic? Yes,
Okay,
perfect.
What did you last hear?
We can hear you now.
Okay, so, damn, that's loud. Anyway, my name is Amira Figueroa. I'm a recent graduate of the College of Staten Island. I work as an intern at Queer Joy Collective. I also work as a mentor for Sam and Devora, and I work in the terminal staff at Brooklyn Cruise Terminal. So I was wondering, what was a moment in your careers that you were impressed with an intern or early career professional that really impacted you as you continue to grow?
I'll give that to Jackie, because you're dealing with new professionals all day long.
Yeah, I love that question. And students ask me all the time, how do I break in, right? Showing a passion for the entertainment industry, and specifically the organization that you're dealing with, speaks volumes. However, what I will say, what has really impacted me and kind of made the difference, is the students that come that are proactive problem solvers. Whether you had an internship or you didn't have an internship, the ones that come and are able to solve problems, that have done their research on the organization, looked at, Warner Brothers Discovery right now, we just, in our third quarter, hit 72 million subscribers, our biggest subscribers, and, how we've done content and our brands, and, here's an area that I've seen, and kind of being inquisitive about that and coming with a solution to a problem. I think those are the students that have been able to stand out. So again, whether you had an internship or not, that doesn't make a difference. I think it's your proactive problem solving that have stood out for me and the students that I've seen.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go here.
Hi, my name is Preetha. I am a second-year graduate student at NYU Steinhardt studying Media, Culture, and Communication. I'm also one of the event interns at Center for Communication. My question is actually for Saidah. I was really excited when you mentioned that how music has been such an important part of your life and your career, because I'm a jazz vocalist myself, and I'm actually working on a documentary on the jazz and blues music scene across New York City through my eyes. So I was just wondering, what are some of the strategies that you have used to use your personal experiences throughout your career in kind of shaping who you are as an individual, and what are some of the strategies that we can use to connect our personal experiences, not only through what we have acquired, through whatever skills that we have acquired throughout our courses or out of course material, but also through our identities, especially as a woman of color or a woman belonging to an international identity?
I think I had to learn really early that I had to create a lot of my own spaces or find my own network or, literally my own like work families or like the people that I trust. I have some friends that I started out as network and have become like best friends 20 plus years because we have like those common bonds. Using those opportunities, for example, music, I'm sure now, back in the day, I'm trying not to be out in these streets no more. I'm too old. But back in the day, I was always out meeting people. Like literally, I used to be what they called a barrier hugger. The people that were always at the front of the stage, and you got to meet people. You saw the same similar people that were there at the show. Introduce yourselves. If you're out at a show or you're, like you said, jazz is the largest growing genre amongst young people right now. And a lot more of those shows are intimate. If you start seeing the same people, introduce yourself being like, hey, I saw you at the Brandy Younger show last week. And did you like it? What was cool about that? Hey, where are you going to? What are you reading? What sites are you doing? Where are you record shopping? Hit those events and try and find your communities around that. Like some of the best friends that I have came through, the music community, and a lot of us scrapped together. Like we're literally interning, or you have that really crazy job that makes you work 30 hours and you're schlepping music equipment on the subway around together. You build those experiences. And you know what? I have friends that literally one of my friends helped produce Summer of Soul. And this is the guy that we were carrying equipment on the subway with. And it's keep those people close, but always dig into your loves, the things that you want to do. Use that always as an opportunity. It's not saying that's okay, I'm going to go to this concert and I'm using it obviously as a networking opportunity. But say you do see somebody that you're always seeing there. Introduce yourself. Say hi. Find something out about them. You'd be really surprised. But dig into your loves. Dig into the things that make you tick, because those do make you special. Gather as much information as you can. I was a music nerd. When I was a teenager, I got jobs at Barnes & Noble so I could afford to buy music magazines. All of my money from my paychecks went back into music magazines. I literally never brought home a check. My parents really, why you have this job even? But for me, that was, I used that opportunity to have this kind of ridiculously music encyclopedia-esque brain, and that ended up translating into something when I knew I needed to pivot. Use your love, and it sounds like music is really it. Find those opportunities. Dig in. You're in New York City. This is a 24-hour music entertainment hub. Literally wring it dry. Wring it dry.
All right, thank you.
Hi,
That's okay.
my name is Drew Vernor, and I'm a third-year economics student at the New School. My question is for anyone who wants to answer it. Is there something that you've put into your routine that helps you stay on track? And my second part of that question is, can you tell me about a time that you failed at work and how you've taken that experience and used it to not fail going forward?
Who wants to talk about failure? Don't all rush at once.
I'll answer the first one. Yes, I fail. I'm not
Yes,
saying I'm not
we
perfect.
have all failed at something.
I'm sorry, the first part of your question was?
My first part of the question is there something about your routine
Okay.
that you incorporate that helps you stay grounded?
Yes, boundaries. And I say that because I feel like working in media and entertainment, everyone feels like their project is the priority. And you have to learn how to prioritize for yourself and set those boundaries. So for me, what I had to start doing is kind of understanding what is the thing that's due right now. Like, what is the most high pressing, even like going to my manager, like what is a need to have and what's a good to have? And I had to start doing that because I was running myself dry. Like, I feel like if you're not mentally there, you're not going to be able to like do the work. So setting those boundaries, both professionally and personally, can like really help you stay grounded, and also for you to stay on track and you to get the things that you want done. As far as like failure, it's this quote that I live by. It's like, success is not final, failure is not fatal, but it's the courage to continue that counts. And for me, I feel like a lot of things, like coming into corporate America, I'm first generation in my family to attend, graduate, go have a corporate job, everything. So for me, I had to figure it out on my own. So a lot of things I didn't know. Like, I didn't know how to like navigate really like a corporate space, or even when I went to college, like I was like, oh, I don't feel prepared. I don't even know what econ is. Like, what is this? I wasn't prepared. But I think being able to just like try and not being afraid that if it doesn't work out, I can always pivot. I think that's what's been like very helpful for me. Even at work, if it's something that I don't really know, like I'll try it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask questions first, because I don't want to repeat it. Like, I don't want to complete something that's not to my manager's expectations when I could have just asked a question to clarify. So I think not being able to like kind of step out of your comfort zone and ask those clarifying questions has always helped me kind of not necessarily avoid failure, but kind of like fall a little bit softer than I probably would have initially.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Oh, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Khadijah Wise. I am a recent graduate from Fordham University with a master's in media management. Thank you guys for a phenomenal panel. This was really amazing. I have a question about, you guys spoke a little bit about this media, finding jobs in media being like very hard at this moment. So in lieu of like the waiting season, was there any like entrepreneurial opportunities that you created for yourself, and what strategy, like how did you do that? How did you go about doing that?
I will take that one, only because one thing I didn't tell you that was in my career trajectory, I took the biggest risk of my life after Prudential and actually opened up my own entrepreneurial and stepped away from corporate America. So if you're passionate about something, you're gonna make it work. Now, some people could look at what I did as a failure. I look at it as a complete success. So I built, only because something that Saidah said, she applauded everyone for being a generation that takes care of their wellness. I opened a health and wellness business from scratch because it was an area that I was really passionate about after being on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And I stepped away from, my mother thought I was crazy. She's like, you're leaving a six-figure job to start from zero, and she did not want me to do it. Don't listen to anybody but yourself. So I started a entrepreneurial business. It taught me the skills that I think actually that I use now to build early career programs, and the infrastructure that I've done at my last company at Guardian and also at Warner Brothers Discovery. But you will wear the most hats you ever have in your life as an entrepreneur. But the thing is with being an entrepreneur is that grind is like like nothing else. You are 24/7, you are on the weekends. I did it, I have 3 daughters, and as fantastic as it was that I was able to balance work, life, and my business, financially, it was a very different space. And someone that I work with at Prudential, actually, when I was an entrepreneur, tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, listen, would you be interested in doing a contract job? back in my old stomping ground in talent acquisition. So I juggled that with my business, and then I was like, wow, is that what it's like to get a paycheck on a bi-weekly basis without having to grind for it? So, you know, I did that, juggled everything, because when you're an entrepreneur, that is one of your things that you really learn how to do is keep those balls up. And the ones that drop, you're able to figure them out a lot. So you build that resiliency. So I am a huge proponent of being an entrepreneur. If you have a blueprint, and that's what I did. I clearly sat back, thought about that blueprint, what that business proposition will. I took all of the skills that I've learned, my marketing skills, and you know what it took to build an LLC and everything that's needed to build a business. And you know, I made it thrive for 8 years, and I do not regret a minute of it. So even though I did close down my business because I really did like having a paycheck every 2 weeks, I'm not gonna lie. Listen, I got 3 daughters I had to put through college. I wouldn't trade it for a world, and I look at all those memories very fondly. So if you look me up on LinkedIn, you will see that period of time that I've done that, and was successful in elevating it and taking it into different non-for-profit organizations and building health and wellness programs at other companies, not just the one I created. So big fan of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hello. Oh, wow. Hi, my name is Ariana Knott. I am a master's student at NYU. My question is about networking. So media and entertainment, we know, is a who-you-know kind of business. But a lot of times, networking can feel inauthentic and transactional. And so I'm wondering, what are some ways that you can connect with people in a way that feels honest and authentic?
I'll give that to Alia, because you're meeting people constantly.
That's a good question. I like that one. I think that, and I heard this at another panel a few days ago, that the challenge now is that networking does feel very transactional, and people are turned off by it. And so finding that connection point with someone that's not simply, here's my information, you know, here's what I'm interested in, I think is a key element in making a connection as opposed to, you know, gaining information or gaining networking information from someone. And so along the lines of what you heard already, I think Saidah mentioned finding points of commonality with people that you're interested in having in your network is, I think, one way to avoid just exchanging cards and hoping that that was the connection that you made. And so understanding who you're talking to is one way to look at it. I have my own things that I do when I meet people. You know, we all have our LinkedIn profile, and we all have the QR code that's attached to our LinkedIn profile, and we all add people to our contacts. I generally create another list of who I've met when I go to events or when, like this. When I go to a summit like this, I will have another list of everyone that I met and something about them. And then when I reconnect with them, I'm speaking from the note that I left, you know, the note that I made about that person, as opposed to something generic from their card or something generic from their title, because I want to connect with that person on some other level than here's your information and here's what I want. I find that I get a lot of emails from people who say, hi, here's what I'm interested in, help. and it's always a challenge for me to start from there, because I need to know more about who it is that I'm going to now go and advocate for, and it also helps me when someone approaches me with information that may be useful for what I'm thinking about in the moment. So, right now, if I say I'm thinking about the video game industry and, you write to me and you say, here's what's going on, at my school, in the department that is working on video games, I may react to you faster than someone who writes to me and says, here's what I need right now. So I think that that's an element of it, but also understanding that you do have all these tools now. It's so cool that you can go on LinkedIn and you can just pull up all of the people in your area who are who might have a connection to you somehow. I think that's incredible that you have that tool. And then once you find out that there are 3 degrees of separation from you, how you might work your way into getting to know them. Often in your network, there's someone who may know the person that you're trying to get to, and warm intros are always better than cold intros. And so I would use all of that. Warm introductions are always better. Being introduced by another person is, light years from sending an email and saying, hi, I am this person, because I get hundreds of those emails in a week, and the person who's been introduced to me, I'm forced to focus on in the moment. So those are some of the things that I would think about. You can use LinkedIn to figure out how you can get the introduction, right? Or you can, when you meet people, figure out a point of connection beyond this is what they do, this is what I do, this is what I want, this is, so that you can find some point of commonality beyond just the transaction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say just one quick 1-minute thing? Also, I love the idea of going, let's go analog again. Like, create your own networking things. For example, like I said at the top, I used to walk in a lot of rooms and it was just me. Like, I would be the only woman, only Black woman, only whatever. And then back then I would go to like events, like industry events, concerts, whatever, and I would look across the room and I'd see like maybe one other Black girl there. And I'm like, we would do the shy wave to each other. Like,
I do that too.
Yeah, wild, where you would do that. And like, it just, like I was telling the other young lady, you start seeing people over and over. Finally, I started going to these women and being like, hey, give me your info. I see you all the time. Let's like whatever. And I ended up creating a group of Black women in media. And we met every, I would say 2 to 3 months for almost 6 years. And it got up to like 40 some women that would come to this. Do that. I think that we all need to start getting analog again and meeting in real life. Like, and it doesn't have to be anything expensive. We wouldn't do anything. Like, we would just go to a coffee shop and like take over a whole bunch of tables and be 40 of us there, like, and just chatting and meeting new people. And you'd be surprised what you do. But get out there and meet people again instead of like, I think that it would be kind of fun to like, create your own options if you have to. Like, if you want to meet some folks or learn some things, get analog. Let's do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Over here.
Hi, I'm Tina. Wow, that was loud. I recently just graduated from NYU in May of 2024, and I'm 6 months into my first job. I actually work in advertising. Before I get into my question, I just I couldn't help but notice that everyone's dressed in holiday theme. I don't know if it was pre-planned or not.
It was not planned.
Yeah, but I thought that was awesome.
Thank you.
And so I wanted to ask, as we were talking a lot about interns as well as valuing yourself and bringing up different ideas in innovation, as someone in an early career when you want to really succeed in your role and go above and beyond, sometimes work long hours even though you don't have to, but you just want to go above and beyond. And as Gen Z in media, I think in general we're just savvy on following social media trends or scrolling or understanding how to design better because we're coming from college where we had to do like 3,000 slide decks or write a lot of essays, et cetera. And so writing and designing as well as following social media is something that we like doing. How do you, when you get into a role and get a fresh set of eyes, speak to like executives about changing processes without, and really elevating the value of your feedback without overstepping in meetings, especially when sometimes you're just like note-taking, but you just want to say, hey, in this slide deck, can we use Adobe Creative Suite to design it instead of the 1,000-year-old Excel deck or something else. So how do you, it's like in an early career role, how do you struggle to be taken seriously and make space for yourself?
I'm going to paraphrase for you. How do you find your voice when you are just starting in your career and you're in some of these rooms where you're the youngest, and you don't necessarily have power? I'll give it to Michelle, because you sort of hinted at some of that in your journey.
Yeah, I would say, as far as like, let's say, for your scenario, you were saying like you're in the room, like you want to say, let's use something else. I think it's all about how you say it. I think it's kind of like coming to the floor with a suggestion, but having resources to back it up, or having facts to back it up. Because it's one thing to be like, we should do this, versus like, hey, like I was looking to X, Y, and Z, and this is proven to be, like, I think kind of just having basically your stuff, like your stuff, and it's all in how you approach it. And I think also too, if you're not comfortable with that, I think that's a lot of times where your direct managers come into play, where you can have those one-on-ones and say like, hey, this is something I've been thinking about, and they should be there to help you feel like you can find your voice, and also they can advocate for you as well. And I always tell people to have your board of directors. A board of directors is like people that can be within the company, but also like outside the company. They could be your peers. Not directly, I wouldn't say your close friends, because that's different, but like peers like in the industry too, that you can like bounce ideas off of, because they may be going through like similar situations where they like, they probably had to like speak up or like step up. And I've been in that space of like I think we could do this better, but I kind of went about it on the route of like having my one-on-ones first, and then also too, like from there going into the rooms of like, hey, this is something that I thought about, like how about we try this, or like what do you think about this? And I think it's just really about how you communicate it in a way.
Okay, so we have 5 minutes left. I'm going to ask everyone to keep your questions very succinct.
Hi, my name is Francisca. I'm a recent multimedia graduate from Ireland, actually. Just one quick question, probably towards more for Jackie, as you work in early careers management. I was just thinking in terms of the resume, we spoke earlier about having hard skills like Adobe and Canva and the likes of that. But other than these skills, how else can you make an application, especially just from kind of cold applying on just with your resume and cover letter? How can you make that stand out and actually get it in front of the people that need to see it, and they actually take it like with like seriously and see your full potential on just paper, because you haven't had the chance to actually interact or meet with someone yet. So just advice on that.
Can you smile?
That is a great question. There's several different ways, right? But let's talk about your resume first. You've heard us speak about catering and looking at the qualifications that role is. Now, depending on the type of role that you're looking for, right? Are you setting yourself up for success in terms of, do you have a link to your portfolio? If your type of industry looks for a portfolio on your resume. I was speaking to someone earlier, and she showed me her cover letter. She's in journalism. I'm not a fan of cover letters, but in journalism, you probably will need it. But her portfolio was on her resume, but not on her cover letter, right? So set yourself up for success in terms of having your appropriate links on there for each. Gearing your resume to the job is probably one of the most important things that you're going to do. And not only that, like I said, if there's a role that you're interested in and you don't have the Adobe, upskill. Number 2, every job that you apply for, I don't want you to just apply. I want you to find out at that company, who are the connections? So apply and maybe reach out to 3 people that are connected to Warner Brothers Discovery and say, I've applied, and not even say, hey, can I have a coffee chat? No, say, I've applied to job XYZ. Can you forward my resume to someone? That is a succinct, like you asked her question. That is a succinct ask. That can be an easy for me to just look in our applicant tracking system and say, hey, I know that recruiter's working on it. I'm going to forward the resume. Being seen is half the battle. Like, battle one is getting your resume, right. So make sure that you are sharing your resume with maybe a subject matter expert in that area, right? That's one of the things I always say. And then number two is, when a recruiter is looking at your resume, they're going to give you 2 minutes. So if they don't see, I know a lot of organizations are AI driven. Now, we have AI tools, but we have humans looking at your resume. We're not going to look at it for more than 2 minutes. However, if you set yourself up for success, that the keywords are in there. We do searches on our applicant tracking system looking up at keywords. I was surprised, a lot of the students, and again, this is subjective, but one of the pieces that I know when I was recruiting is having a summary or objective, a brief introduction, not a high-level introduction, but keywords to that job. That immediately, as a recruiter, if I'm only giving you 2 minutes and I see that you are interested in a coordinator and that's in there, I'm gonna then give you more than 2 minutes. So I know those are a few things, but again, keys to success is ensuring your resume has the key, skill set of that role, sharing it with someone who might be a subject matter expert, not only applying to the job, but reaching out, because right now it's just so competitive. You can't just apply. I can apply all day long, and you'll hear stories about early careers out there saying, I've applied, I've been ghosted, I haven't been responded to. So utilize your network upward, across, everywhere you can to be as successful as possible in your search.
Thank you. That was really, really helpful. Appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Best of luck.
We were just granted 5 additional minutes. Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Hi, my name is Elise Guerriere. I'm a senior studying media, culture, and communication at NYU. And since I'm a senior, I have a question sort of tailored to graduating seniors. So what would be some important things that graduating seniors should know when looking for full-time roles and transitioning out of that internship period of their career journey into the full-time position, specifically in entertainment and media?
I would line into something that Michelle maybe said, that those entry-level jobs, like, it may not be exactly what you want, but it gets your foot in the door, especially with entertainment. And, like, there's a lot of jobs where you're expected to kind of, learn the ropes or kind of do your time or whatnot. Use those opportunities. Like, obviously, look to see that your skills are going to transition you somewhere down the line. Like, you don't want to just stay there at that point if you don't feel like you're going to grow. But I think that she was 100% correct. Use those opportunities to get your foot in the door. Like, almost, I go on LinkedIn and I just see it. Like, I've had, like, interns from Celebrate in different places are like, I can't find entry-level jobs. That's all I see, almost. I see that they're really looking for, as I've always said, young blood. There's always, like, the young blood machine is, like, focusing through, like, the entertainment industry. Look and see. Also, something that's interesting that I've noticed is, like, it may not even be for their company, but companies like Google, Meta, some other ones are doing these kind of for entry-level job applicants, that they have these kind of, consortiums and summer and, like, little packages where you can go learn skill sets, find out how to learn. Go on LinkedIn and Google those. Like, those, I've had a couple of people tell me that they were like, I've never heard of this. Applied, they got it, because I think people don't know about it. The Google one especially, they pay you. It is paid, and it's Google paying, which is fantastic. But use those opportunities to find any way to get into the door, and then it lets you, as we've all said, pivot. But use your opportunities to explore and use those channels you maybe wouldn't have even thought of. For me, when I was leaving NPR, I had never thought about music tech. I was just like, but I had a friend that told me, was like, you better pay attention to what's going on. She's like, if you don't have, like, you're in music and you have some sort of exposure to tech, you're going to be left behind sort of soon. So always pay attention to, like, what's going on in the ether too, of, like, what are those changes? I think, we mentioned that from the top, that it's like, pay attention like to those sociological changes. Like, you know, we have, you know, a new administration coming in. What are those pivots going to be there? What are those industries that are going to be affected? Obviously, you know, nonprofits are probably going to get hit a little bit more. What's going to be going on with tech? Always pay attention on that sociological, cultural, and be willing to pivot, but take those entry opportunities as just get your foot in the door, force your way in.
I'm just going to add, don't sleep on or turn your eye towards temporary opportunities as well, because post-academia, that's a great way to just get your foot in the door. So everything Saidah said, but make sure you're taking a look at temporary and freelance opportunities, because that can be a great entry pathway, not to a full-time, because full-time are getting those hundreds and thousands of applications, but the temporary roles are not.
Thank
Very
you so
quickly.
much.
That is great advice. Find 2 or 3 other graduates, people who are graduating, form a consultancy. And you will work freelance, you will do pro bono projects while you are hunting, and that will keep something on your resume and keep you active in your skills.
Thank you.
Our last question.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Alia. I'm a senior at NYU studying architecture. So shout out Michelle because you mentioned architecture earlier. But my question is also for Alia. And you mentioned earlier that there are very few people competing for specialist positions. And I don't know if that's specific to like the digital gaming landscape or not. But what do you mean? Like, what's an example of like a specialist position? And where are like skills that someone would have to apply to those skills?
Okay, in digital games, I would say software engineers are highly sought after. If you happen to be studying that right now, you're in the catbird seat, and you know there are so many job listings for software engineers in New York City that you have the pick of the litter. If you are an avid professional, you know, and even though you see that, you might have noticed if you're a TV watcher, you know, that your streamers are releasing less original content than they were during the pandemic, right? And so now it's fewer new things that are coming online. But, you know, in the documentary space in New York City, if you are an editor, you are highly sought after. If you know how to use that Avid, you have a skill set that you know, is not common in the city. And so those are the kinds of skills that I could think of. Just if you are a data analyst, imagine how transferable that is from Meta to Spotify to you know, any of the companies that we're talking about today. They're all hiring data analysts because they're all making business decisions based on data, very data-driven business decisions. So, I mean, those are just some of the skills that I'm thinking of. But when I say specialist, it's really, you know, figuring out the specialty that you know now that you can continue to advance your skill level on, or picking up a skill, which I heard, you know, suggested. And there's so many ways to do that without spending more money. You can do that through online courses and programs that are offered for free. And you'd be surprised, the city offers a lot of training online. I would direct you to the city's jobs portal. So jobs.nyc.gov, just where you can find access to free training that's available, free courses that are available, that then tie to job opportunities or internship opportunities. So that's what I would have to say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Ladies, thank you so much. Fantastic panel. Follow them on LinkedIn if you have not, and I will hand it over to Camila to wrap us up.
Thank you all so much. Let's please give this amazing panel another big, big round of applause. Thank you, ladies, so much. There we go. So how are we feeling? Good. Inspire, still excited. So one key advice that this panel gave us is to connect with each other, right? It's not just looking at who you can work with, it's also connecting with everybody that is going to work with you in the near future. So we're going to go to that session right after I share with you a couple of other informations, but we'll be out there in the Stoop area doing some more networking with a fun activity prepared for all of you.